gentlemen, you're tuning in to Blue Please right here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, Total Biscuit. So, let us talk Firelands, shall we? The main problem that I have with Firelands is not that it is too small. In fact, I'm okay with it being 7 bosses. I just want to point this out. I think this is perhaps the most valid thing about what Blizzard said so far, is that things like ICC and things like Ulduar were too bloody big. And I've said this for years, in fact. Ever since Ulduar came out, I've always said, why did it have to be one dungeon? Why did they have to develop this one 14-boss dungeon with multiple hard modes and nonsense like that, when they could have developed a smaller dungeon that was, of course, higher quality and people got sick of less quickly? Because, hey, a 14-boss dungeon has tons of trash. Nobody likes trash. Nobody! I'm sorry, I have not found a single person that enjoys trash. If there is such a person, please point him out to me immediately so he can be ostracized in front of a live audience. Oh, yes. It scares me, folks. It terrifies me that somebody would think that way. But the most important thing is the fact that this particular dungeon stands alone. And to the best of our knowledge, is the only dungeon on this tier of rating. If this is the case, and this is the only dungeon on this tier of rating, then oh dear. Bad. So let's talk about why. So, because of the badge system, and the badge system is the root of most evils, folks. Pretty much you can blame everything for the badge system. If you have a bad back, it's probably the badge system. Your girlfriend dumped you. Well, that was probably the badge system. Actually, that's probably more true than you might think. You got hit by a car in the middle of the street and ended up crippled in hospital. Yes, in fact, it was the fault of the badge system. Earthquakes, plagues, famines, lightning bolts from the sky striking random children playing with balloons in the middle of a storm, which is not a very smart thing to do, but still. The badge system. The badge system is at fault. What is the badge system? I don't know. I just started a cataclysm. All I see is points. They're still badges, damn it! They're just badges in little pieces. They're little jigsaw badges. You put them together. Trying to hide the fact that they're badges by making them points. I will not be fooled by your flippantry, Blizzard. Absolutely not. No, you can't fool me. I see what you're playing at. Yeah. I actually kind of like ray tracing. Yeah, but you have an anime avatar. Go away. So, what's up with 7 bosses? Well, there's a few problems. One of them, and in fact the main one I'd have to say, is actually the fact that the badge system exists. So, the way that the badge system works is that you will be getting conquest points for doing 5 mans. More to the point, you won't actually be getting conquest points because they've actually changed it around. You will be getting justice points, but all of the old conquest gear will become justice gear. That's how it's going to be. It will move down to the previous tier. Because they don't want the system where they've got 4 or 5 different kinds of badges. Which, to be fair, I'm okay with, but still. That's a purely mechanical change. I need to find the conquest items. Needless to say, I don't own any of them because I haven't really played much since beta. But let me find them. Emblems of Conquest. Where is the Conquest Points vendor? That's Emblems of Conquest, not Conquest Points, for God's sake. I am finding it. I will have a look at this. Well, that's where they are. Where the hell is the list of the Conquest gear? Kind of terrified. I can't find them. That's sad. Whatever the case. Conquest gear is pretty much raid level gear. Yeah, right now, anyway. It is the level of current raiding gear. That's what it was designed for. That's what it always was designed for. Sorry, yeah, Valor. That's what I'm talking about. Frickin' Valor. God, I keep getting mixed up between the two. I'm thinking of Ulduar, because Ulduar, of course, has had Badges of Conquest, which were then followed by Badges of Triumph, which were then followed by Badges of Frost. Emblems of Frost, in fact. And then Valor points were the ones for the level 20, well, the 25-man Naxxramas kind of gear. 7.5, was it? Yes. And then Heroism was the one before that. That's how it used to work. My god, this is confusing. He really is. This is terrifying, I'm sorry. Easy to get confused between the things. Whatever the case, I can tell you for a fact that Valor Point gear is item level 359, which is raid level gear, and there's quite a lot of it. So what is going to happen when they move on to the next tier, which will be 4.2, unless they decide suddenly that they're not going to do anything of the sort, then all of that 359 gear is getting bumped down to... Is it Justice now? Yes, I believe it's Justice. Or whatever the hell it is. Or is it Heroism? It's one of the two. Heroism or Justice. I think it's Heroism. But you get the point. It's getting bumped down to the lower tier. That's the main issue. So you'll be able to get this stuff from running pretty much any heroic 5-man. And we're not just talking about what you get now with the dailies. We're talking about the ability to just run heroic 5-mans for a day and get tons and tons of this stuff. So, honestly, that's problematic. Is it Justice? No, it's not Justice anymore. That's sad. I remember that. So, you've got a situation where you can get item level 359 gear from doing 5-mans. Now, there was a situation where this happened before, and it was called Tier 9. Do you remember why Old War died? I do, and this is the problem I've got. Blizzard has this mistaken idea as to why Old War died. They think Old War died because the next tier of content came out too early. This is nonsense. Absolute, complete, and total nonsense. Old War did not die for that reason. Hell, it was hardly replaced by anything worthwhile, was it? Oh, well, you know this really good raid dungeon that is arguably one of the best we've ever put together with plenty of epic quests and non-binary hard modes and stuff like that? Well, you know what? People just prefer to do this 5-boss arena thing, which is perhaps the most boring, lackluster piece of awful raid content we've ever devised. In fact, I think it was a special punishment for players. I can think of no other good reason to put something like this together. It's not good, is it? No, it's not. It's not good. Oh, my. So, that was not the reason. The reason people abandoned it was because they could get equivalent level gear, or even better, from running 5-man dungeons. We're talking about... It was, you know, I was saying this back in the day. It's like, why is it that you can get this from running Utgard Keep? That was really the argument. It's like, I am running Utgard Keep, and I am getting raid level gear. I am getting gear that is better than the stuff that I get from Yogg-Saron. What? Why does this make any sense? It doesn't. And it's the same problem right here. Now, at least I'm okay with the fact that you only get item level 353 from running the new 5-mans. That's alright. And people say, oh, the new 5-mans are really challenging. No, they're not. Are you serious? Before they nerfed them a bit, in the PTR, we ran them with 4 people without any idea what we were doing, and we steamrolled pretty much everything, with the exception of one guy. We one-shot everything. You saw the video, for God's sake. You saw the video. The second off last boss, we one-shot it with 4 people. Think of how dumb this is. Think of how stupid, unbelievably stupid that is. It's not hard. So, the concern to me is that they'll bring out a 7-boss dungeon and they will obsolete everything else. Of course, the alternative argument, and of course there is a counterpoint to this, there always is, there is a possibility that in fact that's not what will happen. There is a possibility that what might happen is that more people will be encouraged to go and do heroic content as a result of having then better gear, and then they'll go back into the older dungeons and do the heroic stuff. That's the other possibility. However, here's the problem, and this is what I was leading into. Is the heroic content really, really different content? This was part of this thread on MMO Champion, and one guy said something that absolutely boggled my mind as to how stupid it was. I could not think of a single reason why anyone would believe this. I made the point in response to somebody saying, well, heroic content is not as good as brand new content, by saying, exactly, playing through a game, a 6-hour game, once on normal and once on hard does not make it a 12-hour game. And somebody says, yeah, it does. 6 plus 6 equals 12. You played it twice, so it's a 12-hour game. Okay. So, excuse me for 1 second. I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to pick up this book right here. Bit of light reading that I picked up. Sergei how the hell do you pronounce this? Lukyanenko. It's called The Twilight Watch. No, it's not Twilight. It's part of the Night Watch series, which is really good. Now, this book is, let's see, it's not very long. It's 450 pages. So, if I choose to read this book twice, while wearing sunglasses in the dark to make it significantly more difficult to read, is this a 900-page book? No! It's not a 900-page book! That would be ridiculous. And I know that's a silly example, because the book, of course, will never change. But playing the same game twice through doesn't make it a double-length game. It's nice that the option is there, and it's nice that some people can enjoy that, but I would say the majority of people don't play a single-player game twice on different difficulty levels. And I would like to refer to the fact that according to recent Valve stats, less than half of the people that own Half-Life 2 and Portal actually beat them. And Portal isn't even a long game. I haven't beaten Portal. I actually don't care, because I don't like Portal, but still. Yes, I know, heresy. Nah! Don't like Portal. It's not my kind of game. It's not a bad game. It's just not my kind of game. What is wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't like sports games either. Doesn't mean they're bad games, it just means I don't want to play them. So if you have this single-player game and you play through it twice and it doesn't really change except for the fact that it gets a little bit harder, that's not really okay. I mean, are we talking about a New Game Plus mode? I think that's really it, isn't it? Because a lot of RPGs have something in them called New Game Plus, which is an option for certain people. The problem is it's only an option for certain people. I don't think the majority of people, in fact I know for a fact that the majority of people do not beat an RPG and then go into New Game Plus. They just don't do it. RPGs are too long, and RPGs are so story-driven that often they just do not care. If the same events happen, it's like, oh, well, why do I care if this is... I totally understand that. I really, really do, unless it has multiple paths. And it's not like you unlock new bosses by going in there, with the exception, of course, of Sinestra. There's only one boss, and this actually kind of annoys me, because they claimed before Cataclysm came out that they wanted to put in one hard mode only boss in each dungeon. They didn't. They only put it in one, and there won't be a hard mode only boss in Firelands either. So they have completely just run aground in terms of that promise. So what you have the option of doing when we get 4.2, which I'd be willing to put £50 down right now on the fact that 4.2 will probably come out in about 2 months. Yeah? I think that's it. That's the most vitally important thing. It matters, doesn't it? In my opinion, certainly. Now, I'd just like to point out something that some people did actually say. And that's the idea that, well, putting in this dungeon and only being 7 bosses is fine because of that heroic stuff. And I just want to say to people, look, not everyone thinks the way that you think. And I have to wonder just how much of this WoW progress stuff actually indicates difficulty. And how much of it actually indicates the fact that these guys just don't care. And that's the most concerning thing. As we have a look at some stats, yeah? The most killed boss in the game right now is actually Magmor from the normal mode, which is 94.94% of active raiding guilds have killed this boss. So, 52,000 guilds. So, even if we were to say times that by 10 for 10 people, that's 500,000 players. And of course, it's more than that, we know that. I'd like to point out the difference between the first kill in there and with the first kill in the heroic modes, and then going onwards. Because if we look at the first kills here, we look at, say, Magmor, it's got 52,000 kills. The most killed heroic boss is Harfus Wormbreaker at 13,000, and then you have a massive drop, 2,500 guilds. That's only 4.57 of actives have killed Valiona and Thuralion, which is the second one, and there's not even a lot of trash between the two, really. If you look at Magmor, for instance, an Omnitron Defense System, and Meloriac and Atramides, they're all on about 5,000 each, with Omnitron Defense System being actually less than Valiona and Thuralion. Then Ascending Council's only got 316 people killing it. 316 guilds, that's actually, that doesn't make any sense, because according to that, Cho'Gall's got more than that. How the hell does that work? I don't think you can bypass Ascending Council, so obviously the stats are wrong there, but whatever the case. If you have a look at those rough stats, does that indicate a massive difficulty gap, or does it actually indicate that people don't care? And they try the first boss and they kill it, and they're like, you know what, actually, we don't care. We really, really don't want the hassle of doing these bosses again with extra bells and whistles. And I think that's the problem with stats, isn't it? Nobody knows. Nobody knows whether or not people quit because of difficulty, or people quit because they actually just don't care about heroics. And I think that's maybe going to be the biggest problem going forward for the next year or two of content, that Blizzard has no idea whether or not people actually give a damn about heroic content. How will they find out? I don't know. I really don't. It would have to be a survey situation. But whatever the case, that is something that really, really concerns me, and honestly, I don't think that having a 7-boss dungeon as your only dungeon in tier 12 or whatever we're currently on is a really healthy thing to do. My name is Total Biscuit. You are listening to the one and only Blue Please right here on cynicalbrit.com. We'll be right back after this with the illusion of choice, and I'm going to play you something, certainly. What shall I play you? A bit of Dream Evil, maybe? Bit of cheese. Anyone a fan of cheese? I like cheese. I'm a massive fan of cheese. I got cheese earlier. Actually, Foregate doesn't really count as cheese. I don't like it anyway. Made of metal. Yes, we'll be back after this with the illusion of choice. Enjoy.